What is going on, people? So welcome to the show. It is Friday, July 10th, and Paul is in Croatia, and he's currently Euromaxing, and I'm not sure his connection can support joining Freight Gong Friday today. We'll see if he pops in. Either way, we wish him a wonderful Friday in Croatia. He sent me some pictures. It looks pretty awesome. So probably a better place to be than sitting on here talking to me. So you got me. Let me just get zinned up here. There we go. I think I'm live. Yeah, I look like I'm live. We've got some folks coming on the show today. We've got Clayton from Epay Manager, OTR Solutions, Mr. Clayton Griffin, friend of the show, big sponsor of the show, obviously. And then we've got Sergiu from Kovin Group, who is, I only know Sergiu because I follow him on Instagram. And he's got a very good Instagram channel. So if you don't follow Sergiu on Instagram, you should. He's a dispatcher, and I believe he lives in Moldova, and he makes good content about booking freight and talking to brokers and dispatching trucks, and it's cool. So shout out to him. And then I think Jake Mathis is our other guest. He's second, and we're looking forward to talking to him. So I basically have to figure out how to kill 30 minutes here. And so what I thought about doing was just seeing what's going on in the freight market this week. I'm asking my trusted hombre here, Mr. ChatGPT, what went on in the freight market this week, because I've been completely living under a rock. I haven't really even been scrolling LinkedIn that much lately. So if somebody in the comments here who's listening, anybody who's listening, there's 6 of you right now, a whole 6 of you. Shout out to you guys. I hope you're having a good day. What's going on this week? What are people seeing? Drop it in the comments and I'll look it up. But I just wanted to pull up the Freight Caviar newsletter that Paul sent today to see what's going on. Oh, of course, I have to verify my login information on Google. This is something that nobody's talking about, but we need to be talking about. It's just the fact that you have to log into everything all the time. It's a problem, man. It's a big problem. Okay, don't get distracted by email. Don't get distracted by email, Reed. Greetings, Neural Freight. Greetings from LinkedIn, Neural Freight. Shout out. So I guess one thing that's Paul would probably want to say right now is that he's about to drop the next edition of the Freight Caviar magazine, or I guess Freight, just Freight is what it's called now. The Freight magazine, Freight print edition, Freight Caviar print, something like that. But anyway, Paul's about to drop that. So if you haven't subscribed to the magazine, you should, because Paul does a great job with it and it looks amazing. This is also going to be the first time they're not shipping out of the Truck Parking Club headquarters, which is less work for me, but not as fun. But I think it'll lead to better experience for everybody here. Anyway, so if you haven't subscribed, go check out print.freightcaviar.com and you'll see the magazine there. That 3rd edition is dropping soon. I'm not sure what what that password is there, Kip. Maybe that was a mistake. I don't know if you want that in there. But it looks like a really strong password, so congratulations. That looks good. But anyway, I guess the talk of the town this week is is there a Blitz week next week? Am I crazy? I thought that already happened. There's another one in a 72-hour period in. Oh no, that was in May. Starts Sunday. Hey, shout out CDL Life. There's another Blitz starting this week, so that's probably something to be aware of, people. I'm just going to share my screen here, and we're going to look at some articles. Screen sharing is canceled. Oh, well, I don't have my permission set up, so never mind. So I guess there's a Blitz week going on next week, so that's cool, or not cool, depending on how you look at it. Kip, what are you doing, brother? What are you doing? You're sharing passwords in here. This is a great password. It doesn't seem like you're that concerned about it, so shout it out. That's one thing. That's another thing people aren't talking about. We're talking about logging in all the time, but I feel like 99% of the world uses like the same password for every single thing, and Bit breaks all password security. I've yet to figure out how to use one of these password managers, but I have been improving my password game lately. I have been using more random passwords, so try hacking my stuff, I dare you. But make sure you've got good password hygiene. Okay, that's maybe the random tip for today. Maybe not terribly relevant. Has there been any good stuff on LinkedIn? I don't know. What's going on LinkedIn? Let's go scroll real quick. I can't share my screen again, so I guess that's no fun for y'all. Man, it really is fun to sit here and not be able to show you guys anything. That's no fun. You know what? Oh, actually, you know what? I can share my screen. Here we go. Hold on. Hold. We're gonna go to freightgong.com and we're gonna talk about something real quick. Because one thing that I want people to think about a little bit is how actually, like, I want to tell a story about Freight Gong real quick and why the show is called Freight Gong Friday for those who don't know. So I guess it's been 3 years at this point. It was almost 3 years ago precisely that I made this. And I used to do this thing on Tuesdays called Tech Bro Tuesday. I had a Discord channel. And it was like Tuesday nights at like 9 p.m. Eastern time. And we'd get in there and we'd just talk about kind of what was going on. We had a good little squad of freight tech people. And we used to, I had a habit of just kind of building random stuff. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, what about all the freight brokerages out there that don't have gongs? Like, what about them? Like, they're in a tough spot. If you don't have a gong, like, how are you really, a freight broker? But that's besides the point. So I was like, we need a cloud-based gong. And so it took me probably 2 days to literally make this, which is this. All this is right now is a scrolling carousel of images of logos who sponsored. So I got sponsors, and I got this. I ended up making a leaderboard, which is pretty sophisticated. So you can log in, you can get yourself on the leaderboard, and then people were spamming it, and this guy rang it 18 million times. So I went on to demo this at the FreightWaves F3 show in 2023, and it was fun. It was cool. It was a good little demo, and we had fun. But the point isn't that I did that. The point is, like, it literally took me 3 days to make this. Like, and it is the simplest site of all time. Again, this was 3 years ago, so the tools for code generation were a bit different back then. And so I kind of had to do it by hand, which was cool, and I'm proud that I did it. I had my compatriot Jake help me with the leaderboard and all that stuff. He's way better than me, and he did that. But It nowadays, like I guarantee you that if I went to Claude or ChatGPT or whatever, I could sit here and I could make the best digital gong all time in about 5 minutes. It would put this one to shame. But I haven't done that yet because I kind of like this internet relic here. I kind of like just coming here and ringing the gong every once in a while. If you've not been to freightgong.com and rung the gong, you should. Next time you book a load, get on there and ring it. But it just kind of had me thinking, because I was looking at this the other day and just thinking about how long it took me to make and how long it would take me to make now. And it had me curious. So I was like, obviously code is easy to write now. Everyone's able to do it. If you have Claude, if you have ChatGPT, you can do it. And so I was just wondering, who out there in our sphere of the world, in the freight world, has gotten creative with this and made stuff for themselves, made tools for themselves to make their lives easier. And so I just started fishing, and I think we're going to have some folks come on the show in the coming weeks to demo some things that they had made, because I just basically texted a bunch of freight broker people that I know, and I just asked them like, hey, do you know anybody who's using AI to make cool stuff for themselves? And I got a bunch of really, really interesting stuff. And right now, like when I talk to just kind of like reps on the floor, it doesn't really seem like a lot of people have really understood what's possible now. And I think that's mostly just because AI gets hyped so much that everyone just kind of writes it off because there's so much hype and nonsense about it. But don't let that happen. Do not let that be you. So this is all to say that if you haven't screwed around making your own stuff like a digital gong, then you should, because you got to learn how these tools work, because you can make your life easier. And you too could make a digital gong. And you could probably make one that's way better than this one. But I am proud of this one. So let's ring this one more time. All right. Shout out Freight Gong. So we've got about 15 minutes here until Clayton comes on. So I got to figure out how to kill this time as well. Paul actually right now, let's just give a quick update on where Paul is. Paul's not here. He's not joining us, obviously, but he is in Croatia. And I was looking at the map of Croatia. And if you've been to Croatia, let me know what you think. I've not been, but it looks pretty awesome. Paul is currently on this island called Kirk, I guess. Kirk? It's just, there's no vowels in the name of this town. So that's cool, I guess. KRK. So Paul, I guess life's pretty good for Paul. He FaceTimed me earlier. He's out at the beach and stuff. So that's pretty awesome. But he is here. And I was thinking, like look at all these islands around here. I don't know if when you're bored sitting at your desk, I don't know if you ever just open up Google Maps and look around. But what I used to do when I was sitting at my desk back in my brokerage days, and I was feeling lazy and didn't really feel like doing anything, what I would do is I would just go look at islands and just look at the ports on the islands to see kind of what was going on. I don't really see. I don't think that KRK or Kirk or however you say it is a bustling freight hub here in Croatia, but every country that's on the coast definitely has a port somewhere. So like Dubrovnik, is that the biggest town in Croatia? Am I making that up? What's the capital of Croatia? What is the capital of Croatia? Let's Google this. Forgive me for this. Zagreb. I don't think that's on the coast, is it? Zagreb. Let's look. No, it's not. Man, does Croatia have a port or no? It's got to have a port somewhere. What's their big port town? Rijeka. Where is that? Let's look. There it is. Oh, looky here, baby. Oh, nice. This is a good little port. This is literally what I would do. The other thing I would do is I would look and try to find the northernmost palm tree on Google Street View. So if you've done that, I actually literally tried to vibe code a game of trying to find the northernmost palm tree. I did not finish it, so it's not ready to go. But maybe when you're bored one day, I can fix that, and y'all can go try to find some far north palm trees. But anyway, um, there was a cool port I remember finding down here in the Maldives. Which is right here. There's the capital island of the Maldives is called Malay, I think, right here. Yeah, here it is. Look at this. Look at this island right here. We got a lot going on this island, and they got this little port right here. That's pretty cool. I mean, this island is crammed. Look at all this stuff on this island. Where's the airport? And the airport's its own island. I mean, that looks pretty cool. If you've been to the Maldives, good for you. I think it's a Muslim country, if I'm not mistaken, which is interesting. But man, look at this island. I wonder what the freight scene like is. I wonder what the freight market is like in the Maldives. Doesn't seem like they have much room for trucks, but they got some box trucks here, so they got something going on. Obviously, all these people need to get their stuff. Shipwin Logistics. I wonder what this guy's got going on. He's got this little van here. I wonder if this thing's loaded up with freight. Man, Street View, you could literally spend so much time on Street View. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy what Google has managed to do with this. Shout out Google, I guess, right? That's pretty cool. Let's go check out the port. Let's go check it out. I'm going to drop my pin right here. Oh, wow. They got some cruise ships. Bunch of containers. That's cool. I've never been on a cruise. I don't know if a Maldives cruise would be the first one I would choose, but maybe someday. But yeah, I mean, just go look at random islands when you're killing time. Maybe that's something you could do. Look at all these islands. The place is crazy. Wow. The other place I want to go that I've not been is down here in Mauritius. They've got a pretty big port here in Mauritius. I remember looking at this. This is just like an island in the middle of the Indian Ocean. Like, they've got a big ass port there. And I have to guess it's because ships come around here, and this is like a convenient like staging point for ships that what is this called? The Cape Horn or Cape of Good Hope? What is the name of this cape? I can't remember. I think it's Horn. What? Let me verify that. Oh wow, I wasn't even close. Cape Agulhas, Cape of Good Hope. Oh no, it's the Cape of Good Hope. Yeah, okay, I was right about that. But anyway, it's just interesting to look at where things are and ask why they're there. And I guess I could also ask ChatGPT that question too. Why is there a big port on Mauritius? Let's see what it says. This is riveting content, people. I hope my wife's watching right now. She's probably learning a lot. Mauritius has a surprising large port because the island sits in a very useful spot in the Indian Ocean. Yeah. Yeah, lies on major shipping routes from Asia and South Africa. Yeah, so it's got a naturally sheltered harbor. Man, you got to have a naturally sheltered harbor. That helps. But that's cool. The other cool thing that I remember looking at, and if you ever just like find something cool on Google Maps and just like kind of go down the rabbit hole, you can learn a lot of interesting stuff. There's an island over here off the coast of Baja, Baja, California, Baja, Mexico. There's a lot of salt that's produced here. I guess this is like a giant salt field, and the port is a tiny island. I gotta find it. Where is it? Where was it? I believe it's this one. Yeah, Cedros Island. Yeah, see, look at all this salt. So I guess speaking of deep natural harbors, I guess the harbors around here aren't deep enough, and so they ship all the salt from these salt flats out to this island here, and then they load it off this island, which is interesting. But it set me down a rabbit hole. Uh, there's this guy. I think his name is David Ludwig. Uh, Daniel Ludwig. That's what it was. Daniel Ludwig. If you've ever listened to the Founders podcast, there's an episode on this guy Daniel Ludwig, and he started this company. He was like a shipping magnate, and I think he was the richest guy in the world for some time. And he was from Detroit, if I'm not mistaken, but he ended up somehow getting involved with like oil tankers. And then, so he became a ship owner. And then he ended up founding this company that is the largest salt company in the world, or that was. I don't know if it still is. But he founded this company that ended up, I think it got nationalized by the Mexican government. But he basically started producing salt over there on this random island. And I discovered all of that just by looking on Google Maps and kind of going down the rabbit hole. And I realized I had listened to the podcast about this guy. So if you've not listened to the Founders podcast on Daniel Ludwig, you should, because it's actually incredibly interesting. But it just goes to show that there's stuff happening everywhere, which is cool. Yeah, Cedros Island here. Yeah, so that's the island I was looking at. And it's got a pretty good looking climate there. And islands are cool. I'm an island guy. I'd like to have an island someday. Maybe someday. But yeah, you should go listen to that podcast. Founders podcast, if you haven't listened to it, is one of the few actually good podcasts out there. So shout out Founders. And listen to that Daniel Ludwig one. I actually like that one a lot. He seems like an interesting guy. Just look at his Wikipedia page real quick. Yeah, so I guess I think he was the richest guy in the world for some time, and he was also like only interviewed. Yeah, so he only gave one interview during his lifetime. One interview, and I think there was like a famous photo taken of him because he lived in New York City, but nobody knew who he was, despite him being the richest guy in the world. And I think he got like a photo taken of him one time, and he like basically paid PR people to like keep him out of the news, which is a bit counterintuitive, but that's cool. He's an interesting story. He did a lot in Panama and Brazil too, I think, with like logging and wood. So, yeah, that's cool. There's all sorts of interesting people out there. But this is all connected to the fact that when I was bored and my freight brokerage job, I used to just go on Google Maps and just go down rabbit holes. And if you've not, you should, because it's a way to kill some time if you don't feel like being productive. And I know you don't always feel like being productive. So check out Cedros Island. Not a great moment for islands unless you're named Cape Verde. Are they still in the World Cup? No, right? I mean, Cape Verde does look cool. Let's go check out Cape Verde. I know it's... The other thing I like to do is I like to not type it in. I like to try to find it on the map. I'm pretty sure, yeah, here it is. They got a bunch of islands over here. They're not still in the World Cup, are they? I don't think they are. No, yeah, they're not. I mean, they made it pretty far, though. Yeah, they lost to Argentina. Okay, anyway, shout out Cape Verde. But Cape Verde's got a bunch of islands. I bet you they got a cool looking port around here somewhere. Man, look at this volcano. Let's check this out. Holy cow. Look at that. Wow. Imagine being the guy who came up here to take this picture. That is a crazy crater. Holy cow. That's cool. Let's look at some other ones. Man, obviously these are volcanic islands. Is there any? It doesn't look like there's any volcano there. Man, most of these islands look like they don't have much on them. Where's the capital? I could literally spend like hours just sitting here looking at the map for no good reason other than it's interesting. I always wonder about people who like take these photos. So there's no photos on that island. But like, let's go look here. And I always wonder about these guys. Wow. That does not look right. That guy's leg is really short. So yeah, that's obviously some kind of camera glitch. But anyway, look at these. Look at this island. There's no trees on it. Wow, it's basically just like a desert island. These guys are out here in the middle of nowhere taking pictures. That's cool. Seems pretty mountainous. If anyone's been to Cape Verde, shout it out. But that it is an interesting thing about the World Cup. Like, I bet you the fact that they made it as far as they did in the World Cup was just like incredible, like tourism PR for them. And so hopefully that leads to a lot of business for folks who live on Cape Verde. I'm sure it will. It looks like Clayton's here. Clayton, I'm bringing you up, bro. I know it's 3 minutes early, but I need somebody on here. Yo.
What's up? How we doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
What are we talking about? Cape Verde?
Yeah, I was just looking at islands, and I was looking at islands on Google Maps because that's what I used to do when I was bored at my freight broker shop. I would just like go on Google Maps and just go down rabbit holes looking at islands.
A lot of freight to ship.
I mean, dude, I definitely had work to do, but like sometimes, you just don't want to work, and you'd rather just like screw around. And so I would screw around by looking at islands, looking at ports, and I would also try to find the furthest north palm tree I could find. Wow. Like that was my activity. And I actually remember that there was a beach bar in Delaware over here that had a palm tree on it. That was the furthest north one I could find.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Aren't there people that look at snapshots, very kind of nondescript snapshots, Google map snapshots, and then they can like pinpoint exactly where it is based on road signs and trees and things like that.
Yeah, I think it's like a game. Like there's a website where you can do it, and there's a guy. We're probably talking about the same guy. You've probably seen that dude's clips where he gets like a random picture, and like within 2 seconds he can put it on the map, like within a couple miles, like anywhere in the world. He's like, oh, that tree looks like it's from Madagascar, and he'll like find the perfect point. Yeah. People are wild.
You can be an expert. Hey, man, as long as you're an expert in something, you can find success. You just got to be an expert in something.
There is no doubt about that. But what are you an expert in, bro? What's going on over at Epay?
Man, I don't know. I don't know that we're necessarily an expert. We're just trying to find ways to help our clients win in what is a pretty crazy freight market. But I think it's a good opportunity. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and it feels like, there was opportunity just of a different kind over the course of the last few years, but it felt like you were kind of running uphill for the last several years, whether or not, you might've been taking market share gains, or you might've been, certainly if you were growing, you were, but now it just feels like a really good opportunity to leverage some of the tailwinds that we haven't had in the market for quite a while. So
did you, what was like, I feel like the last couple of years was basically like staying alive, like treading water. Like, were you seeing customers that were kind of making big moves from a growth standpoint over the last couple of years? Like, I'm sure there are people out there that just position themselves well
Yeah,
and did.
I think it's just defining. You're never going to set PRs in the type of market that we just came out of, right? Like you're never going to run a 4-minute mile running up a hill. It's just not going to happen. But
Yeah.
you could still take a bunch of market share from people, and you could still invest in your business, and you could still make yourself better. And I think those are the people that we're seeing are really able to capitalize on what has been a better market over the course of the last several months. So I think it's more like people being prepared and people kind of thinking in a little bit longer term horizons. And fortunately, a lot of our clients have taken that approach, and we try to give them the tools to be able to do those types of things so that when opportunity does come knocking, they're prepared and ready to scoop it up. That's kind of how we approach our business too. I mean, if you do things that provide value for people, and you allow them to do what they're good at, people those types of operators will find a way to be successful.
What are you seeing on the carrier side right now? Obviously, OTR is a huge factoring company, and y'all have eyes on a lot of carrier data. I'm just curious, like, kind of, are carriers winning right now? Like, I know fuel's up, and maybe that eats into some of it on some loads if there's not like a fuel surcharge. But like, what are you seeing on the carrier side right now?
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that it is a better operating environment than it has been over the last few years. I still think if you just look at it from like a cost up build, I would say we're like just now getting to a point where you can actually start to make money in trucking. But that said, I think I would argue, and I think I've been saying this for a little bit, like there's likely still room to run just because of the things that are happening in the macro environment with regulatory and safety and all the non-domiciled stuff. There's just a lot of things that are suppressing supply, and traditionally the outlet for kind of price resets has been an influx of supply, and it just feels like that's going to be harder structurally to make happen this time around. So I mean, we especially in the small carrier market, you have a lot of people who are very flexible and come into the market or go out of the market as things ebb and flow. And so it was a really tough environment over the last few years. And we're seeing a lot of people, good operators, come back into the market, and they're not going to swing the capacity pendulum that heavily, right? I mean, it's a bunch of 1 truckers or a bunch of 2 truckers, or maybe a 2 trucker is flexing up to a 3 or a 5 or a 10. Which is great, and we love to see that happen. But yeah, we're seeing some good operators that have been on hard times kind of beginning to find their footing again.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question that, like, I mean, because basically what happened was COVID demand spike, and then like a ton of carriers entered the market, right? Like, and capacity and just the total number of carriers went way up. Yep. And that was just
not impact capacity that much. If you think about it, so if you plot price action, freight rate price action against new authority activity or active authority activity, so like just the FMCSA, how many raw Class 8 authorities are in the market. So we saw a huge influx as price began to increase with the demand surge from COVID. But that didn't affect price action for quite a while, because an influx of small businesses doesn't necessarily mean new capacity. In a lot of ways, it is the same capacity manifesting itself as an owner-operator or a small carrier that might have been driving for a fleet. So like we see fragmentation of the market, not necessarily market growth, when price action is increasing, which is really what we saw. But a lot of like your large swath kind of capacity impacts, it takes a while for that to come into the market, as large fleets are ordering a bunch of trucks, and then the trucks have to be delivered, and all of those things happening at once eventually flips the pendulum. But like I said, I think that's just a harder task right now, unless price gets to a point where trucking is desirable again. You know what I mean? Like it's a very hard living. It has been a very hard living for the last 3 or 4 years. And so as you get to a certain point where you can make enough money to warrant the demands that puts on your life and your body, which I don't know if we're there yet, but I think that's ultimately what will need to happen.
Well, and I mean, but isn't it? It's just structurally more difficult to enter the market now, or it's limited, right? Like if you're a non-domicile, like if you're a non-domiciled CDL, like you're screwed basically.
Well, it is certainly with Modus, it is certainly structurally difficult to enter the market. I mean, there are just very few new authorities being granted. It's a wild. The Modus thing is kind of crazy. I know there's some people that have been Grace, at OTR has kind of talked about this quite a bit. And Danielle, I know, has talked about this and written about it. So, I mean, that is creating a bit of an air pocket from a new authority, new carrier perspective, which is interesting. And it'll be interesting to see if that has any lasting effects on kind of the length of this phase of the market. I hope they get it figured out, but it's a bit of nobody really knows what's happening right now.
Yeah, I mean but I mean, like, had none of this happened, like, would we be seeing, like, if the non-domiciled thing didn't happen, if there wasn't this big push by the administration, like, would we be saying the same thing right now about just like the state of like truckers being able to actually make money? You know what I mean? Like, would we be saying that?
Yeah, I think. I mean, eventually you reach a tipping point in any kind of supply and demand industry or business. I think the speed and severity are the things that are impacted by all of those. And then the speed and severity of, what comes in the future, whether or not you will see a traditional influx of supply to kind of affect price action the way that it normally would, or whether you're not going to be able to, like, I think the length and the floor of what truckers are getting paid, I would guess the floor is higher now, right? You just have, you have less irrational actors that are undercutting price action in the market. I mean, that's ultimately what we saw, was people who were coming in below cost because they were structurally deflating.
Yeah, they just had a lower basis, basically.
So I think the cost, like the floor will come up. I would imagine the length of this, more favorable environment will be longer, just because you're not going to have the kind of supply outlet that you normally would.
Yeah, it's kind of, there's been a number of kind of like perfect storm scenarios. I mean, the Supreme Court thing, obviously, broker liability, for, I guess, lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Are you just on that topic real quick, my immediate thought to that was like, is this going to mean that if brokers are liable for who they hire, and if they negligently hire an unsafe carrier and there's a problem or an accident and they're on the hook for that, like, does that mean that in order to avoid that, they obviously need to be more scrutinous of who they hire? They need to have their compliance strategy outlined, yada, yada, yada. They got to cross their T's and dot their I's. But is that just going to naturally mean that carriers who have better safety scores can actually fetch higher rates because they're more airtight, quote unquote? Like, I'm just wondering if that's like actually going to happen, because I feel like carriers have never been able to really differentiate on safety scores. It's not been something like 5 years ago, if a carrier called in and were like, you should pay me X because I have better safety scores, you would have hung up the phone. You'd been like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, that's a great question. I think ultimately, the industry is looking for something that is a little more binary than, being able, like, paying a little more for someone or paying a little less for someone, I don't think will make up for the risk associated with whether they are deemed, right? It's kind of binary. Like, did you do your diligence, or were they safe enough? And the definition of that binary yes or no is what nobody really knows at this point.
Yeah.
What will be determined. But like, I would imagine from a customer service perspective and the quality, if you have a discerning shipper, for instance, that is willing to pay up for better quality, or that is your value prop, right? Just how you run your business, then I think you can certainly take that approach. But I think from a broker liability perspective, definitionally what qualifies as negligent carrier hiring is something that everybody
it's a big question mark,
is wondering.
And I mean, is that one that the FMCSA isn't even going to like answer? Like it
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think ultimately, at least if we continue down the path, it feels as though the courts will decide. Which is messy and long and expensive, and I don't necessarily think is ideal. Like, if there is, and maybe there's already been maybe there already is a framework, right? Like, if they have an operating authority and they're not in conditional or whatever, and you're following your internal guidelines and SOPs and not making concessions because it's a load that has to move, then maybe that's good enough. I don't know. I think those will be some of the arguments that happen in kind of state courts. But I also think it's kind of messy to have like state by state guidelines on the definition of and safety.
Clarity is certainly an advantage that we don't have at this point, I guess. And that's
just helpful for the entire industry. Like, you don't want people, the lack of clarity, I think, makes decisions much harder. It makes people move more slowly. It disenfranchises, I think, carriers that maybe shouldn't be disenfranchised,
for sure.
Which I don't think is a good thing for anybody, right? Like, ultimately, I think you want the maximum number of safe capacity available. And if you can't define safe, then I think it's just dangerous for really all parties involved. Because you get aggressive litigators and you get brokers that are scared to load certain categories of people. I mean, it's kind of what we're trying to do with Select, is because we do such kind of robust underwriting on our client base. We feel like there should be a higher level of confidence loading an OTR carrier than there is finding somebody randomly off the street that you've never worked with in the past.
That does make sense. I mean, you all as a factoring company obviously need to take seriously the foundation, like just the solidness of a carrier, right? Because if you could be left holding the bag, so you've got the incentive to bet them, end to end. So I guess that does make sense to me that would be a good kind of proxy for people to make hiring decisions. Are you seeing that? Like, how is that? I know you guys kind of came out with that in like April.
Yeah.
How's that been going?
It's great, man. We've gotten several top 20 brokers on it. I think we've got about $4 billion in freight spend. From a brokerage perspective, that is engaging with the platform and actively engaging with our client base. Jake Mathis from Southern Reins, who I think is on, is a user of the product, and I think is loving it. So it's just a unique take. Like, we're very conscious of not trying to do things that we don't feel like we can actually provide incremental value to people using it. And it's data that I think a lot of the broker universe doesn't have. And traditionally sourcing SMB carriers is like really hard and really messy and really expensive and not scalable. And so we're trying to bring some scalability to that exercise because we have such like breadth, and really more than breadth. I mean, it is a broad network, 20,000 carriers, 60 or 70,000 trucks, and growing every single month. But more so it's the depth, right? Like the depth of information that we have on these carriers. We, in many cases, have worked with them for 3, 5, 10 years. And so like the question we ask ourselves, and really what we're asking brokers is like, does that make you feel better about loading that carrier? If you know that they have been working consistently with OTR, and is there a correlation between being good at business, being able to survive, for instance, a freight recession, an extended freight recession, because you're a better trucker, and you've been able to survive, is that a more sustainable relationship that you should invest in building relative to all the other SMB carriers that you might run across or that might have kind of capacity to run your freight? So that's kind of how we think about it. We feel like it's really good for both sides of the marketplace. It kind of strips out some of the inefficiency that normally comes with sourcing carriers from the long tail, which is still the vast majority of the carriers in the market. So we feel like it's good for brokers and it's really good for our clients too, because we become a marketing engine for our carriers, and we're enabling our broker customers to expand their capacity pool, which I think is awesome as well. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun, man. It's kind of our first foray into that type of product.
What is the carrier's feedback then?
Awesome. I mean, for them, right? Like if you're a 1, a 2, a 5, or a 10 trucker, the exercise of making broker relationships is also very, very hard, because similar to why carriers don't want to go and look at 84 different, small or medium-sized broker load boards.
Yeah.
A broker doesn't want to go and make 100 different 3, 5, 10 truck relationships independently or separately. And so for the carriers, we serve as a marketing arm for their capacity, and we put their name in front of people with freight. And so for our carriers, it's an opportunity to be seen when they ordinarily wouldn't be seen. It's an opportunity to be kind of differentiated relative to all of the other carriers that are on the load boards. And, when a load gets posted and you're banging down the phones, how do they know you if they've never worked with you directly? How do they know you from the other 10, 15, 20, or 50 carriers that are calling inbound on this load? And so it's really just like the feedback has been awesome. We're continuing to make improvements to it, really daily, and shipping new features and things weekly. So yeah, it's kind of correlated, I think, kind of pretty well. We were working on it obviously before the market began to.
Yeah, it kind of came at the perfect time for you guys.
So that's, you put yourself in a position to get lucky every once in a while. You do. So yeah, it's been fun, man, and the feedback's been really positive. You can ask Jake when he's on.
I will. Your point about being kind of the marketing arm for carriers is an appropriate one, I think. And I mean, carriers, it's always been interesting to me, like, just thinking back to my carrier rep days, when like you as a broker are essentially like you're paying carriers. Carriers are in a sense like you are their customer. You know what I mean? Like you are literally paying them for a service.
Yep.
And that makes you their customer. But nobody really thinks about it that way. You know what I mean? Like nobody, or at least nobody acts like that, right? Like very seldom did a carrier that I talked to like actually try to sell me. You know what I mean? like, oh, hey, I'll do this load, but I also do this. I also do that. I also have a truck here. Like there's very little of that. You know what I mean? And it just,
most of the time a broker would say, well, what's your price? And everything else doesn't really matter to me right now. You know what I mean? I think there are discerning brokers that are trying to build sustainable kind of capacity networks that, with more reliable options, so that they don't have to fish in the, murkier waters, fraud-riddled waters that I think the industry has had to operate out of for a really long time. That's just for the number of carriers and the number of brokers and the amount of freight. That exercise is just not scalable, right? Like a broker doesn't want to hear it. A carrier doesn't want to talk about it, because the odds of it actually making sense in that particular relationship are pretty low. But if you package them together and you say, you know what, you don't have to go to 20,000 different carriers to get this information. We'll provide it to you in a platform, and you can make a decision about which of these carriers is best fit for your network, which I think
I'm going to bring Jake on right now. Jake, you're coming on, bro.
Oh boy.
There he is. There he is.
What's up,
How we doing, brother?
Good. Clayton, good to see you.
Good to see you, man.
Yes,
good to
sir.
see you.
Jake, can you corroborate that Carrier Select is a good product?
Yeah, OTR Select. We've found some early success with it. And honestly, my biggest plug for OTR Select was with one of our biggest customers, and it was a TSA government shipment, airport pick, airport drop. I mean, it needed as much love and attention as it could come, and it literally happened in 5 minutes from OTR Select. So that would be like my biggest success story was they really saved the day, and when we were in a pinch. So
nice, man.
And honestly, the carrier's been with us since then. We've been loading them back and forth and back and forth. So that's been really awesome for us.
Love it.
What Jake, tell us about your company, Southern Reins.
Yeah, Southern Reins. So Clayton and I go way back. I'm a former Nolan guy, and I know you know Kev pretty well. So that's where I cut my teeth and got introduced back in 2013. So Southern Reins, non-asset-based 3PL. We're based right here in Alpharetta, so probably like 30, 45 minutes north of Atlanta. But just true brokerage, man. We pound the phones, we set meetings, we hustle trucks, and man, it's the wild, wild west out there right now.
What are you seeing? Like, is it's basically been like 2 or 3 months since like April when things really started to kind of go, right?
I'd go back as far as December. I mean, we saw what we thought was the holiday, the December end of year retail rush or whatever, and everybody was skeptical. Oh, is it just the holiday? Is it going to last? And then, January kind of stayed busy, and then February, historically one of our worst and shortest months. I mean, February felt like a record month, and then March hit, and it was like, well, dude, is it going to stick? I mean, are we here to stay? Everybody's been predicting this for the last 2 or 3 years, so eventually someone's got to be right. And man, it's been.
And then it was like, well, is this just a diesel? Is diesel what's driving the rates? And diesel starting to come down. It's been a wild 6 months.
Clayton, you said, or I think one of you guys said, like, you don't see this kind of like plateauing or coming down soon. I mean, we have to make predictions for customers, and I don't see it coming down. Definitely not in 2026, and I see it just kind of just staying and holding where it's at pretty much for the next, I want to say 12 months or so. I mean, these carriers have had it so bad for so long that I think they're finally, like you said, Clayton, finally able to turn a profit, and they're going to hold to their guns. And with all the regulation and all the strict protocols coming down, like, the good ones know what they have, and they're not willing to budge. And I appreciate that, and I respect that. And I think a lot of our customers who are good customers know that too. They know they paid bottom barrel cheap rates for 3 years, and they got what they got for 3 years, but they knew it was just going to end at some point.
Yeah, and to your point, I think, Jake, the good businesses like you guys that truly kind of provide value to customers are the ones that are responding and being consultants to their customers instead of, if you've been a highly transactional price only, like if your value has only been in being the cheapest provider over the course of the last few years, that value evaporates pretty quickly. And I think that's true for you guys. I think that's true for a bunch of other really good operators. And I think generally that's true for like business. If you're winning exclusively on price because you feel like you have some advantage on being able to source what we now know was just not very high quality capacity in a lot of cases. Once you lose that, like what else do you have to offer if you haven't built a relationship and built something that's a little more durable than and can withstand the ups and downs that we see in our market?
I would say I've got like a threefold comment on that. To every customer we work with, the first thing that we're going to lead with is we're not going to be the cheapest option. We don't want to be the cheapest option, and we never will be. So if that's what you're looking for, then respectfully, we're not going to be the best partner for you guys. And then to our sales team, I mean, obviously our business is heavy sales, and that's where I spend a lot of my time and focus is with that team. If you're getting a quote right off the rip on the first call, probably not a good one. They probably only care about the rate, right? And if you got to just quote nonstop and you're just trying to be the lowest out of a list of 30, 40 people, probably not the best customer that we're looking for at this company and this organization. And then from the carrier side, we probably won't take the cheapest option. We probably, if it's the cheapest option, we look at that as like a red flag more times than not, just because we know what's out there, and we know who these people are, and we know what they're trying to do. So we work it on all three fronts, from inside of our four walls, customer facing, carrier facing. We want to provide an A grade service to our customers, which means we got to provide an A grade carrier for the load.
Get what you pay for.
Yeah.
What, are customers receptive? Are shippers receptive to that message? Like, do they like? I didn't really do much.
Some are and some aren't.
Yeah.
But the customers that we want to do business with, the customers that we choose to do business with, those are the type of customers that know that. I'll give you a great example. Brand new customer, but a big customer, and they just opened up a U.S. manufacturing here in Georgia. And we had ran a couple projects for them, 40, 50 loads, whatever. And this was like a month or two ago. Well, leading up to the 4th of July, they had quoted us, I don't know, it was like 17 trucks from Georgia to Maryland flatbed. Probably one of the worst lanes in America, probably one of the more expensive lanes on a per mile rate. And we quoted, I'll just throw a high number out. This isn't factual, but like $4,000. And she was like, yeah, I got a $2,000 rate. And I was just like, respectfully, that's not realistic. And but you make your decision, and we're here if and when you need us. And she was like, yeah, it's just too good to be true, but we're going to try to roll the dice because it makes sense for us. Literally July 3rd, she reaches out and she was like, they've dropped the ball and we need 18 trucks. And I'm just like, well, your 4,000 rate is now 5,000. Covered every single
right.
Price just went up.
Yeah,
I love the at least she was honest with.
Yeah, and she said, "I'll never make this same mistake again, and you can have it all, and I understand why your price is what it was."
We know it's too good to be true, but I just got to learn the.
I mean, that's like the best possible scenario for you, is it not? Like,
yeah, it is. It is, honestly.
Especially if you end up executing and saving them, you can kind of be like, hey, I told you so, and not really. That's the best call to get. You know what I mean? Like you did it by the book. You stood firm on your pricing. Said,
but
sorry, I can't.
The sales guy in me, I wanted to like drive home the point so hard on the front end and just be like, ma'am, I'm telling you, like, it's not going to happen. Like, I'm telling you, that lane does not go for that price. We've done this long enough. We know. But we made the decision just to sit back and take a back seat and expect the call a couple days before the holiday. And when it came, we all kind of high-fived and looked at each other and was like, we knew this was coming.
Did you cover all the loads?
We covered every one of them. Yeah.
4th of July flatbed, Georgia to Maryland, baby. Let's go.
Yeah. Customer for life.
Yeah.
What's been kind of like the growth of your company? Like, how many people do you have now? Like, when did you start? How's that gone?
So I left Nolan like late 2019, had a 2-year non-compete. So it was kind of under the radar for 2 years. So I really didn't kind of get going until 22, which was like kind of the post COVID era, whatever. So honestly,
perfect time.
Yeah, exactly. So I heard you guys talking about how soft it's been for the last 3 years, but Clayton, you said, you can't run a 4-minute mile uphill. And, a lot of people couldn't capture market share. It was really hard. And honestly, we found a lot of growth and a lot of success from 2022 to 2026, where we're at now. As a company, like well over 40% growth year over year during those 3 bad years. And now that, it's finally turning, it's just fuel to our fire. So yeah, we've had a knock on wood and thank the good Lord above, but we've had a lot of really good success growing from what I would consider like startup to small to now like kind of entering that medium-sized business. We have 68 employees as of today across 2 locations. So, we're growing, and it's hard to like kind of keep up with it because you want to make sure that inside your 4 walls are buttoned up and tight. And Clayton knows me; I'm very OCD. I like everything perfect. And
Jake may have the sickest office in. I know you guys. I forget where you were, Reed, when you said that it was one of the better offices that you've seen. Jake may have the sickest office in Freight Brokerage. He's at a really cool area just north of Atlanta, and they did a fantastic job with the.
You have a Gong?
I'm not a Gong guy, man. I just feel like that's like too classic. We want something different. I'm still trying to find like the really awesome thing, but I'm not a Gong guy.
Do you have a wall?
You just gotta own it, man. You are who you. owning who you are and the culture that you are, and what actually is a fit, and not trying to chase.
Do you have a wall? Is there a wall of empty Zin cans?
Yes, there is actually, and they just put the last can on top yesterday, and I just took the picture. Where is my phone? Dude? It's hilarious.
You can't. It's hard to escape the stereotypes, man. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know if you can see it, but they just put it up yesterday.
Oh, the pyramid's coming together. There you go. Where do you go from there? Do you just stack it higher, or I mean, it's so symmetrical now.
The guy said now it's just time to block the whole window and make it dark in there and cover up all the natural light. So we'll see what
I think we need to get to the bottom of who's got the tallest Zin tower in freight. I think the NTG did have a very large one that I saw in December. So I mean, obviously you might need to weight it by how many people you have. There's an index here somewhere that we could be looking at. So
Reed, anytime y'all are back in the Atlanta, I know you're up in Ringgold a good bit. I'm actually from Dalton, so that's
cool.
Yeah, Carpet World. So we got an office up in Dalton, but anytime you're near Alpharetta, you got to stop by. I think you would definitely love the energy.
Yeah, I gotta. Clayton was alluding to the best office. Me and Paul rated the NTG bathroom as the best bathroom in freight. It was a nice bathroom. It had good sense. It was well manicured. So I think the bathrooms are more important than the office, maybe.
I'll be honest with you. The bathroom has like little mini toothbrushes and mouthwash the individual.
I'm telling you, don't sleep on Southern Reins. Don't sleep on Southern Reins.
Yeah.
All right, boys. I gotta hop. I'll let you guys chat for a little longer.
See you, Clayton. Thanks for coming on, brother.
Good to see you, man. See you, Jake.
Yep.
Jake, let me reorient our screen here because no, that's not it. That's not it. That's not it either. That's not it either. Where's the two people? That's okay. None of these are very good. We'll stick with this for the time being. No, that's not good. That's not good. Am I off the screen here? Can you see?
No,
are we both cut off?
Yeah, you're kind of a little cut off.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with these. All right, enough of that. So 2-year non-compete, and what'd you do for those 2 years? Did you go work at Waffle House?
I don't have the same Waffle House story. Honestly, I was just under the radar, and I was a one-man band for the longest time, and just trying to like get all my ducks in a row, kind of get all the organizational stuff set up. And just doing a little bit of what I could on the side. So, that was challenging. And, you hate to sit out during what was a good time to be a part of it. But you got to pay your dues and do your thing, kind of by the book. So it is what it is. But, I mean, I knew what I could do once I could, like, go to work and go run. So it was challenging.
And so how did you – and what was your role? You started at Nolan in 2013. Were you doing carousels, client sales? What were you doing there?
Yeah, customer sales is all I've ever done. And I didn't know the difference between a dry van and a flatbed when I started. I just needed a job, and they were hiring. And once the bug kind of bites you, you just get kind of tied into it. I was actually I didn't even want to get into the trucking business. I was actually post graduation interviewing for like my corporate big boy job. And it was like a 3-month ordeal, and I didn't have 3 months of savings. So I needed a job today to like pay the bills. So fast forward 3 months, and I finally got the offer, and I was like, oh, I kind of like this trucking business. Let's see what we can do with it. So honestly, I just think life happens. It's funny. Things just kind of work out. And so, I stuck with it, moved back to Atlanta where Nolan's headquarters was. And, nothing but awesome things to say about that. I mean, the Nolan web is so wide, and just our OTR relationship and MIG and Payhawk. And so, I mean, the net is so wide. Any show or conference you go to, it's like the spinoff is just crazy. And all.
Yeah, there's a strong alumni network.
Yeah. But I think the coolest thing about the network is that everybody roots for everyone. There could be a lot of animosity, or there could be, quote, a lot of competition, but I think this business is so big that there's enough food for everyone to eat. And it's really cool to see the support that we all have for one another, in the web, if you will.
What What was your kind of like first order of business when you actually were able to open the doors and kind of get going?
Sell, baby, sell. That's all I cared about. That's all I knew. So that's all I could control. I didn't know anything about carrier sales. And I mean, I knew how to operate, obviously, but like that wasn't what I was born to do. And then, you know, having to learn accounting and collections and AP and I mean, that's so not my world and not my business. But when your back's against the wall, you just got to figure it out kind of thing. So that was like the frustrating part, is that like I knew how to sell and I had good connections and customers, that like I just needed help. So just hired 1 or 2 sales guys just to kind of run my book and then let them go, you know, run wild. And the model was always let them run until they can't run anymore and then go hire somebody else. So get every single thing you could before you go hire someone else. And so we just did that for probably the first 12, 18 months and, you know, grew to a little 5-10 person team. And by then the COVID kind of era was kind of on its way out. And all I wanted was like an office so bad, just to like legitimize who we were, kind of start the hiring process, have 4 walls to call home, just kind of like make everything official. So that's when we had the opportunity to land a spot here at Avalon, which is kind of like the Class A luxury office space here in Alpharetta. So I was really proud of that, and it's really expensive to be here. And so I wasn't going to sit here and pay rent and let it sit empty. So I always say, and Kevin will tell you too, hire more than you hire, or go lease more space than you need, because it'll force you to hire. It'll force you to grow. And we've done that, man. We grew out of our space in 12 months. We took the lease and the wall down next door. We did a massive expansion in 24. And then last year we just did a 3rd renovation and took down the other wall on the other side. So we're slowly taking
Damn, it sounds like you're at a point where you need to break through the floor and expand to the other floor, huh? You gotta put your back against the wall again.
Yeah. We got a little bit of space. We just did the other one next door, so we got a little bit of space to grow into, but it's perfect. It gives us that runway that we need for, 12 months. We'll need it. So it's perfect for us, and we couldn't be more excited.
How did you think about building out like what tech you were going to use?
I feel like I'm pretty selective on tech. I mean, I get more tech sales calls. I mean, everybody does in this business, but I mean, I'm flooded. And the thing is I know a lot of people that have left Nolan or wherever that like I know these people. So I always want to show love and support to those guys, but it's also like I don't want 30 different tech providers. So we go through our tech stack almost every quarter just to kind of make sure that what we have we're actually using, because if not, I mean, it can get so out of control. There's so much good stuff out there, but I'll start with things that I know and believe in, and then kind of branch out, like OTR Select. Like, it was not on my radar as like, oh my God, I got to have it. But then I know those guys. I know Ebel, I know Clayton, I know Jonathan, I know all these guys. So like, they came in, they showed it to us, they demoed it. And the demographic in the region that they service is primarily the Southeast, which is where we're at and where the majority of our customers are at. So it has to make sense. And so that was a really good fit for us and our business model and our customer base. So like, it takes a lot of those kind of, connections and coincidences for us to kind of pull the trigger on some stuff like that.
And how do you like, obviously, you mentioned you're getting a lot of sales calls, tech sales calls. Like how does that go? Like, have you ended up buying something that's kind of come to you cold? Like, has that happened?
I want to say no, and I hate to be that guy, but like, I'm just so strict and I'm so like just routine in what I do that like, if I want something, I'm going to go get it. And so I'm going to go reach out to that tech provider. I mean, I would say like, this is stupid, but like Highway came to us, but like we knew Highway and they knew us. So like, I mean, they did approach us, and Matt's my guy. So I've known him for a long time, but like, you got to have Highway, right? I mean, that's just kind of like the baseline of today's industry. So, but all the other, I mean, I'll listen, and I'll typically tell them to send me the deck, send me the info, because there probably will be a day and a time where like I'm fed up with a provider and I want to shop around. So it's just like those people that constantly reach out and follow up. Like, I'm a sales guy. I know what it's like. As long as you stay in my ear, I'm probably going to recognize your name and your company. And if and when there's a need, I'm probably going to reach out to you.
And what This is a very broad question, but what's been your move on kind of the whole AI front so far?
Yeah. I mean, back office, anything repetitive, anything that is just a task, yes, for sure. But when it comes to, some of the customer and carrier facing stuff, like I will always stand by this. And I hate to say this to all my AI guys out there that I know and love and talk to every day, but if it's customer or carrier facing, those relationships matter so much to us that we're such a relationship business and company. We need to speak to a human. I mean, how frustrating is it when you call in to whatever vendor you need and it's a robot and you just want to speak to a human so bad and it takes 3 or 4 minutes to get there?
Yeah.
That's not what I want our company to be like. I don't want that user experience, whether it's customer or carrier, to be frustrated with that. Because sometimes if you're calling into the office, there's probably a problem and you need help right now. So, we want our carriers to have that same customer experience that I feel like a lot of brokers don't provide. You're nothing without your carriers. So we want a good experience with our carriers as well. So we stand by human interaction on customer care facing roles, but AI load building, love it. I mean, I think that's just a time saver, anything efficient. The AR, the AP piece in the back office, we love that. I think that just saves us so much time and headache. So I'll give a shout out to my boy Sergiu over at Lighthouse. He's been really awesome for us, and he's definitely been he's here local in Alpharetta, so like that's a huge thing, right? You asked me how do I choose a vendor?
Yeah,
I gotta see it, feel it, touch it kind of guy. So if Sergiu was in Seattle, that's probably not my guy, but he shows up at our office every day if there's a problem and fixes it. So that's been a huge time saver and efficiency game for us.
When what is like the one metric you look at to just like, I've never run a brokerage. I've never run a sales team at a brokerage. I was only ever an individual contributor. So I never really thought about it from like the macro standpoint. Is it like loads per, like, how do you know if your team is like at the max? You know what I mean? Is it like loads per person? Like what metrics do you look at to kind of like determine like just how efficient your team is?
Well, honestly, that's a loaded question because there's so many different KPIs that we track both from sales and operational front. But for the sales team, it's a mixture. It's based on tenure because everybody's got a seat to cover, right? And every seat has a price tag on it. So the early guys, we got to see activity from like just a pure call number standpoint. But I think you can fluff calls, and I think you can log fake calls. And I mean, I've played this game for way too long. I know what they do. But you can't fake a meeting and you can't fake a quote because you've never landed a new customer without quoting them first. So those are some of the real KPIs from the sales point that we track is customer meeting set, whether that's in person or via Teams, because we have some of our management or sales leaders sit in on those meetings. And then new customer quotes. You're not landing new business if you're not quoting new business, right? So those are big. And then just like conversion rates, like how many customers per month are you landing? And then more for our senior tenure guys, it's like, what is your book doing, right? Because once you build a $75,000, $125,000 book of business, like you can only do so much. And so then that flips to the operational KPIs. How much can their operations support? How many loads per day can they book and manage and schedule and monitor? So once they start needing more operational support, that's a big key for me that sales is starting to get too involved in the back office, which we don't want. We want our sales guys to be selling.
And what for the 60 some odd people you've hired, how many of those do you think were kind of new to the industry, whether they're college grads or it's their first freight job or whatever, versus kind of like veterans?
Yeah, so early on, I mean, I had been in the business for several years, so like I had a lot of connections in the Southeast. So my first 20 to 25 employees, I've never even posted a job for. Like they were just connections that I had that I kind of recruited over. So that was really good. And I'd say out of those 20, 25, I'd say like 90, 95% of those guys are still with us. Just 2 or 3 have kind of dipped off. But the other ones, they're kind of our leaders here, and they're a lot of our veterans. But it wasn't until we kind of hit that growth mode that we went to the public market. And I'm sure you guys know the public market sucks. People suck. So that's what
gets hard, man.
Yeah. So that I feel like that's what gets challenging is that, like, you know, you set the expectation of how difficult this job is going to be from a sales position.
Yeah.
Our operations team, they're phenomenal. And like, it's in my opinion, it's awesome to hire operators because it's such a good job for those guys. It's the sales guys that, like, you know, they see the big trips and they see the this and the that and the commission checks, and they're like, oh, I want to be that guy. But you don't know what it takes to be that guy, and you don't know how long it takes to be that guy. So I think a lot of these young folks come out of school and they're like, oh, I want to go make $100,000 and buy the new car and do X, Y, Z. But you didn't know how many years it took for that guy to get that base. You know what I mean? So we try to set the expectation, man. You got to give us everything you have for minimum 1 year before you start to see anything. I mean, yes, early success can happen, and it happens every day. But generally speaking, on average, I need everything you got for a year. You're going to build a $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 book of business in the first 12 months, but then it starts compounding after that. I think the hardest part is setting that base expectation months 0 through 6 of how hard that's going to be. It's going to suck. It's going to be very hard. And we
do you find that upfront honesty is like a good way to weed out people who wouldn't be a good fit anyway?
Yeah, because it's like, dude, I don't want to blow smoke up your butt. I don't have time to sit here and tell you how awesome this is going to be. It can be awesome, and it can be very rewarding, and you can build a future, and you can build a career, and you can provide for your family and everything you want to do in life. But you got to put in the work. And I think that's what I feel like we try to portray to these guys is you're going to walk in with 0. You're not going to be given any customers. You're not going to be given any loads to manage. You're starting in at 0, and you got to just build and build and build. And it's going to be long and it's going to be hard. But when you get that first win, it's going to feel so rewarding that you're going to be chasing that high over and over and over. And then the small wins start to compound into bigger wins, and the bigger wins then start turning into, you know, $40,000, $50,000 months. And that's when it gets good, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's, I was thinking back to when because I kind of took a job at Echo under the same circumstances you did. I just needed a job. I didn't know anything about freight, and I don't think they did a great job explaining or just making it known the fact that it was just a complete pain in the ass. You know what I mean? There's a temptation to try to sugarcoat, you know, the job. And especially if you're a large company and you just need asses and seats, you know what I mean? Maybe the strategy isn't to talk about how hard the job is, but like at the same time, I think, you know, I was in a training class of like maybe 10 or 11. And I think after a year, it was me and like 2 other people left, you know what I mean? And I think that's just kind of how it goes at the big companies, at least. How is kind of like the attrition? You know, you probably get bigger training classes now. Like how do you really get people to be able to handle it? You know what I mean? Like, is it a coaching thing, or is it just like an innate thing in the person?
No, I think the initial thing is that what you said is true. Like, you don't want to sugarcoat it and make them think that, oh, this is going to be easy, this is going to be great, and then, you know, you hire 15 people. I think what the public doesn't know, to hire 15 people at once, that's a lot of time and a lot of resources and a lot of money and a lot of organization, and a lot of different people have to do a lot of different things to pull something like that off. Sure. I mean, no one's going to go hire 150, 200. They're way bigger than we are. So for a small company with 60 people to hire 15, that's a massive jump. Like that's a huge like accomplishment for us to pull something like that off. And so to sugarcoat it, I think is a disservice to the potential employee. And then it can be a huge waste of our time, because if we did all that time to bring on 15 people and only 5 make it, like that's a fail for us. That's a lot of time, energy, and money wasted. I think what we do and why we do what we do is we set the expectation of how hard it's going to be, so that there's no excuses and that there's no, oh crap moment when they kind of get that phone in their hand for the first time. But I think everything else speaks for itself. You walk in our front doors, within 5 seconds, you know what our culture and environment's like. You're going to love it. You're going to see floor-to-ceiling windows. There's music. There's TVs. There's food. There's drinks. I mean, it's everything that you kind of want as a young guy out of school or out of college. Like, this is the energy and the atmosphere you want. It's that hustler's mentality. The dream is there, and I think the dream speaks for itself when you walk in. It's you got to put in the work to make the dream keep going. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and what do you I assume you're in your mid to late 30s. I'm making an assumption.
Yeah, 35.
So like, what do you notice much of a kind of any generational differences between, like somebody who's our age versus like fresh out of college? I don't even know. Are Gen Zs fresh out of college now, or is it like I don't even know what it is now. I think it might not even be Gen Z anymore. Like, do you notice generational differences?
I mean, I'm an old school at heart kind of guy. Like, I mean, my dad was an old school guy. That's kind of how I was raised. So, like, I'm just a roll your sleeves up, blue collar, go to work. You're not going to get anything unless you work for it kind of guy. And I feel like the younger generation, I don't know, they get on Instagram and TikTok and see all these 20-year-old multimillionaires driving Lambos and doing all this crazy stuff. That's not real, man. That's not the work. That's not reality. That's fake news. Like, yeah, there's a couple of those guys out there, but they were probably born into it. You know what I mean? I think they see this Instagram lifestyle of how cool everything is, and so they just think everything should be handed to them and be really easy. And that's not that's not trucking. So if that's what you're looking for, don't come into the trucking business, because this is blue collar hard work. You got to grind weekends, holidays, nights. I mean, this ain't a Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 only kind of job. So I think my only frustration is that they have their hands out wanting $100,000 annual salary, and they haven't done anything to prove that they're worthy of that. So I'll give you the opportunity to go make that, but the work and the effort's got to come from you. And I'll give you all the tools and resources and training and hand holding and whatever else you need, but I can't do the work for you.
Yeah, that's but that's like, that's a useful message. And I don't even think that I understood that. You know what I mean? Looking back, I think it was, I came in and I had success quickly, but I had such a bad attitude about it because I was, in this sort of job, one thing I think people don't realize, like, yeah, it's going to be hard work. Yeah, you're going to have, nothing's going to be given to you. But like, you're so often the bearer of bad news that you have no control over. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like calling a customer and telling them that the truck's not going to make it when you told them all along that it was going to be fine is like a very uncomfortable call to make.
Dude, you know it is, but that's where the relationship is built. Like delivering the bad news, because like out of 10 brokers, 9 are going to send an email lying about why the truck's late or lying about this and that. Yeah. And it's the people, the successful people are the ones that pick up the phone, call the customer, tell them exactly what's going on and what you're doing to fix it and bringing a solution to the table. That's how you build a relationship, is when things go wrong, because every customer knows something's going wrong at some point in time. So I hear you. And that does suck, but we try to just tell our guys, like, you got to get comfortable picking up that phone and delivering bad news. Yeah. It's their freight. It's their customer. You got to be the one to deliver that, and not via email either.
Yeah, there's always the temptation to try to lob the bad news in a not face-to-face sort of way. Yeah. And even if you are, doing it the right way, that doesn't mean your customer is going to be like thrilled with the news. You know what I mean? Like they might still be pissed, but
they're not going to be thrilled, but they're going to appreciate it. Whether they tell you they appreciate it or not, I almost know for 100% certain they appreciate the honesty and they appreciate the update ahead of time and not after the fact.
What cold calling, like how has the game to get customers really changed at all?
I mean, in my opinion, no. Like, I mean, there's so much stuff you can do to land business. There's so many different ways. I encourage our guys and girls, be different, stick out. You got to do something that is not a copy paste, blanket, blah, lackadaisical intro call. Like, that's what people don't want. Do some research, figure out who it is you're looking for, figure out where they went to school, who mutual connections are, what's their previous work experience. Do something to show that you did a little bit more work than the average human being, and that you called with a purpose, and that you're not just a number on a list going through a copy paste BS intro call. So I think cold calling is not the awesomest thing in the world. I don't think anybody loves it, but it's part of the business. And you just got to figure out a way to stick out and be a little bit different than everybody else. And I think just doing a little bit of baseline research puts you ahead of the game for most people.
Have you had, is there any example where you've had an employee kind of come in maybe fresh and kind of hit it off quickly, and they've done something, they've like brought the unique strategy or unique perspective? Like, I'm just curious if you've seen anything like interesting on that front.
I don't think anything like comes to mind on the spot necessarily. We do have a guy, he started in January, and this is kind of like, these are the success stories that I like to share with new guys. Like you said, do you find it beneficial to set the bar and the expectation as low as you are? And like, does that scare people away? Well, there's also really good success stories. We had a guy start in January. We do a month-long training, and then they hit the phones February 1st. And he's 5 months in, 5 months and 10 days in, and he did like 42 grand last month. 5 months in. I mean, there's people here for 2 years that haven't touched that. You know what I mean? Like, that's awesome. And it's just working your relationships, working your connections, asking for the business, asking for the referral. I think so many people are scared to ask. And so I think the message that I send out to our team is that no one's going to come to you and call you and give you business. Like, you got to go take it. You got to go ask for it. Like, stop following up and just following up. No, ask for the business, because no one's going to give you anything. You got to ask for it. So just staying consistent, staying in their ears.
What, how do you think about like marketing your company? How do you think about that?
I'll give a little plug to my wife. So my wife, Kaylee, has been a part of the business since day one. You know, she heard all of my stories and all of my complaints when I was at Nolan and all my late nights and this and that. So she's been around brokerage for 15 years. So when I had the opportunity to start this business, I just needed help, and I needed people that I could trust. So obviously my wife was at the top of that list. So she has a marketing degree, marketing background. So that's kind of just what she does. So anything you see Southern Reins related, that's all kind of come from her. But I think it's important. I mean, that's how you network. That's how you get your name out. There's so many people that when we go to TIA and we go to FreightWaves, I'll get stopped going down the hallway and they're like, "Hey, are you with Southern Reins? Like, we see you on LinkedIn all the time," or whatever. And I'm just like, well, that's pretty cool that like a bunch of random people will like stop and say, "Hey," and introduce themselves directly just from kind of putting yourself out there a little bit. So we don't, I guess, share as much as like I would personally like, because there's so many cool stories and so many fun events and so much stuff that we do, but we're also really busy. So if you don't see us posting, that means we're in the trenches, and that means we're really busy. It's typically when we get our head above water that it's like, all right, is it too late to post the holiday party from 6 months ago? Probably. So like we missed that opportunity.
Yeah. What about events? Like, do you mentioned TIA and FreightWaves? Is that like a regular thing for you? Or are you going to those all the time, or how do you think about kind of just events?
Yeah, TIA for sure. That to me is personally the best freight broker conference out there. I feel like I've been to pretty much all of them, and some of them are just expensive and it's just a reason to get out of the office. But like, I really want value and I want to take something away. Going to a conference and bringing a handful of guys and girls with you isn't cheap. So if we're going to travel and put people up in flights and hotels and dinners and this and that, like, I need to see some type of return on that. So TIA has been one that I've been a part of for many, many years, that I always leave with something and it feels good. So that's the one that I think we'll always stick to. And there's a few others that I'm not as excited about.
Cool, man. Well, I'll see you at some point, I'm sure.
Come by Atlanta anytime you're in the area. Text me, and you'll have to stop by and check it out. Give us the bathroom rating.
I think I will. Don't just keep building that Zen wall, and maybe that'll be something to show as well. But appreciate you coming on, Jake. It's a cool story, man. Congrats on how you've gotten, the point you've gotten to so far. It ain't easy, man. So it's cool. It's cool to hear about you.
Appreciate it. Good talking to you, Reed.
Later, brother.
See you.
Yeah. Serge.
What's up?
Yo. I don't know why you're not. Oh, there you are. There we go. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Paul is in Croatia with poor internet, so he's he's left me to fend for myself today.
I'm glad.
I'm excited to talk though, man. I've like I said when you were with Paul in Moldova and we FaceTimed. I've been a fan of your Instagram channel for some time now. It's good stuff. What's your kind of story? Why don't you just I guess introduce yourself to the audience?
Well, my name is Sergio. You might know me as Sergio from TikTok or from Instagram, the dispatcher Sergio. I'm a dispatcher. I'm an overseas dispatcher. We're based in the Republic of Moldova. That's the eastern part of the Europe. Yeah, I started as a dispatcher. Now I do have a team of dispatchers working here, grinding. Yeah.
How many years ago did you start?
I think it was back in 2018, so like 7-8 years or so. Yeah, almost 8 years.
Is it and as somebody who lives in Moldova as a dispatcher, how did you find the job? Like how did that even happen?
I think this industry was just at the beginning at that time. It was not so mainstream, because nowadays it's a very mainstream job here in Moldova, in my opinion. It's maybe just because I'm cooking in it, but I do find it as a very mainstream job. Like IT developers and dispatchers, especially the younger generation, because our native language is Romanian. We do have people speaking Russian, like older people. They do speak Russian, but the younger generation, the post-Soviet generation, like the people that were born past 2000, 2005, they all pretty much speak pretty good English, I would say. So that's why it might have become a very mainstream job. How did I get into it? It was just an old friend of mine. He was working as a dispatcher for 4 or 5 months also. Because again, it was just at the beginning, like this industry. I think there are still, but at that time there were a lot of Chicago companies, Moldovan trucking companies, and not only Moldovan, because there are like Serbians, Eastern European trucking companies based in Chicago, and they started to outsource this job, for a better cost for them, and that's how someone started it. I don't know who started it, but at that point, I had the opportunity to join a company, then the other company, and then I started to work on my own back in 2021. I founded Kovin Group. I was working on my own for 4 years, and then I started posting videos and TikToks, and then we had a lot of dispatch requests from
I imagine that Instagram has done a lot for you.
Yeah, it built a business for me. If you see that, that's everything they did. Yeah, it's all.
And what made you start doing that?
I was seeing I was seeing a lot of images on different forums, like people saying like I booked this kind of load they were showing like a map and for 1,000 miles load, 1,000 miles lane, and they were just putting some numbers on that image,
Yeah.
They were looking fantastically good, and I was thinking that people adopt these images. It doesn't work like a proof that you book such a good load, or maybe I don't know. And I was thinking maybe I can show like a real call conversation with the broker. Yeah. I was booking good loads, but I was also booking cheap loads. and actually the cheap loads get a lot more views than the well-paid loads.
I mean, I wanted to share a video here just so people who might not be familiar can get an idea of what type of videos we're talking about here. I mean, you literally are like recording the calls.
Yeah, I'm doing it right now. That's what I'm doing.
What? I don't know what's your best video ever. I wish you could sort on Instagram.
Pinned. We have some pinned videos that got like, or they're not actually. You can put reels. You see that you're looking at posting. You just put reels. Yeah, there should be some pins. Like that first, like that video was like the 8th video or the 7th video at all I posted, and it got like 1 million views in like 2 days. I don't hear the sound.
Oh, you don't hear it?
Yeah, I do not.
Of course. Why would you? Oh man, that's annoying. Yeah, I don't know why. You should be able to hear the sound. I don't know why you can't. Hold on. Let me try again. But
yeah, this was what I was basically doing. I was dispatching at my dispatch shift, and then I was editing reels when I was.
And were you like, what in general, like, what year was that? This was 120 weeks ago.
About 2 years ago, 2024, March 2024 ish.
And so this was like peak cheap rate season. So it was probably pretty easy to get content.
Probably, yeah. I don't even remember when was the peak cheap. Maybe it might have been later also. I don't even remember now because it's been a lot of stuff that happened since then. So yeah, right now, nowadays, it's really hard to find a cheap load, but sometimes we do reach brokers that indeed pay, they pay $2 a mile, and they say it with a straight face, and there's nothing to accuse them with, but yeah, $2 a mile on today's market, it's really cheap. But
what I guess, like, what are you seeing right now? Like, is it ever been easier to cover trucks in all your time, or is it like how does this compare to like the hot times during COVID?
I think it's pretty much the same, but in my opinion, it might or it might not. Post-COVID times, I don't know how long it lasted, but it lasted a bit. It was like a year post-lockdown. And it was a very good time, but inflation and diesel prices, I think nowadays the market is a bit higher compared, like if we compare the rate per mile and the grosses, nowadays it's a bit higher just because the inflation. It was like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and the inflation got higher, but it's pretty much similar. And it's actually I find it it's a lot. Of course, there are a lot of advantages for us, but there are a lot of disadvantages for people that are coming into the industry nowadays because it's very hard to learn what real dispatch trucking means in an easy market. It's as I told my people in the office, we had a meeting. They were frustrated about it. Some of the people got upset on me, but I was telling them that look, now even though we're having a good time, we might be in a stagnation period, and that's way worse than regress. Because stagnation, you don't realize because things changed, but you're not changing, you're not getting better. The game is just getting easier, and some of them got upset on me. Some of them were frustrated about it. But I don't quite like those times. Me as a leader now, as a team manager, it's very hard for me to teach people what real dispatching is, because there will be tougher times when they will need to struggle. And it's going to be very hard for them. So yeah.
What types of carriers do you traditionally work with?
You mean platform trailer types?
Yeah, like you do a lot of Conestoga and flatbed stuff, right?
We do, yeah, we do flatbeds, we do Conestogas, we do step decks, and we also do dry vans and reefers, like a smaller portion of that, but we do have like 20% of everything that we dispatch is dry vans and reefers, or mostly dry vans. We have like dispatching like about 5 reefers right now.
What do you think what is the hardest part about dispatching?
The hardest part about dispatching is not when you're booking loads, it's not when you're making money, but it's exactly when you don't make money. It's the part where you have to solve problems that are not productive, like that doesn't bring you money directly, like getting a pickup address, or solving issues, unload a trailer, or like all this stuff, or reaching a broker. We have a few cases a few weeks ago where we got loaded. The product was supposed to be tarped. We were told that there's no tarp needed. The driver did not have tarps. And then we could not reach the broker for like about 24 hours. And this was very frustrating. And it takes a lot of energy and time, to fight it, when in reality you're not making any money out of it.
Yeah.
Like you're fighting, you're doing stuff that's not productive for you. And that's the real part of the dispatch. And people might be thinking that why would I care about it, because if I don't make money? But that's the part of the job you have to do. I mean, it is a part of your dispatcher's job. So yeah, that's the ugliest part. I don't know, like doing stuff that it's not
chasing people around, trying to relay information. And when people don't communication, I guess is what you're saying.
Right.
And in Moldova, like how are people finding you, like your company, and like coming to work? Like, is Instagram a huge hiring channel for you too?
I think so. Yeah, Instagram, like. As for clients, as for people coming in, Instagram, publicity, TikTok, Instagram and TikTok, these are the most. These are the 2 platforms that bring us the most resumes. So yeah, I think Instagram. But there are a lot of. I mean, there are a lot of people, or I would say it. How do I put it? People from this industry in Moldova, they pretty much know each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I know who's working for that certain company. I know who's working for that certain company. And, we know each other through, mutual friends and stuff like that. So this might be a channel of communication as well,
So when I started as a carrier rep at Echo in 2016. And I worked with a dude who spoke. He was an Armenian guy, but he spoke Russian, Armenian, and Spanish. And he, literally, like I don't know. He was a crazy dude, but he somehow spoke all these languages. He was from Armenia, so I understand why he spoke Armenian and Russian. But it allowed him the ability, like being able to speak to
English.
carriers.
He spoke English.
He did speak English too, obviously.
Yeah.
But I mean, he had such an advantage because he was able to relate to carriers just much better, and they just instantly trusted him more because he spoke the language. And so I was always a bit jealous of that, because I obviously didn't. I ended up working with a lot of Ukrainian dudes and Polish dudes, but and a lot of Romanian people too, actually. But he had a huge advantage. And so I was just curious, like, do you have any brokers that you work with who do speak like Russian or Romanian or any other language like that? Have you ever encountered that?
We do have, but we use them as reps mostly. Like we have chats with them. I think we have at Eco, we had guys in the office have a dispatcher from Serbia.
Yeah.
There's a dispatcher from one of those countries, maybe from Poland as well. Honestly, I don't think we do take advantage of that, to be honest with you. Because nowadays, with all these fraud and scams around, I was always saying, even though I'm saying it against myself, but I was always saying, just be afraid of the people with the accent, because I have never met a person, let's say an American, doing scam. Like all the scams I have ever faced, there were people that has accent. And again, I'm saying this in disadvantage of us, but I realize it. And I realize how brokers think when they talking to us and stuff like that, I realize that, the accent is an instant.
Do you find that like people assume you are like a bad actor because of your accent?
Yeah, I think so. And that's something normal. I mean, that's the game we play in, and these are the rules.
How do you I guess how do you overcome that? Like, you just do a good job, I guess.
Yeah. I was telling the guys. I was telling Paul. He was asking me. He was asking me. I don't even forget what question was he asking, but I was always saying, don't try to sell your ass. I mean, just do the job, under promise and over deliver, and don't try to sell yourself. And that's it. If they don't want to work with you, I understand that. I mean, that's okay. They're afraid.
Yeah,
I get it. I mean, I look normal at it. However, at the beginning, I was getting frustrated, and I see a lot of people still getting frustrated, even though people are not telling them that directly. But yeah.
That was I think that was the most surprising thing for me getting into brokerage, was just like how many Eastern Europeans are involved in it, and they're from like every single country. Like in Eastern Europe, essentially, there's like a group of truckers and trucking companies, and I just feel like the average person does not know that at all. You know what I mean? What is it? What do you think it is about trucking that attracts so many Eastern Europeans?
Because there are a lot of Eastern Europeans immigrants that immigrated into America and started trucking companies, and they just outsource to their countries. I don't think, however, even though we do have now Native American clients, like we do work with a lot of American drivers nowadays. We do have clients that are Native Americans that are not immigrants. Most of this outsourced dispatch is from companies that were started by people that came in from Eastern European countries. And you guys better know, or you guys tell me how these Eastern European countries, what's the service of them? Is it a better service? Is it a worse? It's just a different service.
Yeah,
it was type of service, especially on the spot market.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting thing, because like gun to my head, like if I was gonna die if a load didn't get delivered, calling the best driver and the best carrier that I knew is a Romanian dude named David. And he was an owner-op at a company that I worked with for many years. And then he got his own authority. And one time he was doing a load for me. UNFI, the receiver, the UNFI, they've got a bunch of distribution centers, and they've got, their lumper bills are like $1 million, and they take 1 million years to unload. He was doing a load. And if you miss the appointment, you're screwed, basically. He was doing a load for me to go to UNFI with a delivery at like 2 a.m. And he ended up, like trailers have landing gears, right? And they've got like the metal plate, like at the foot of the landing gear. One of those came off a trailer ahead of him on the highway and came through his windshield, like flew through his windshield. And literally, if it hit him, it would have killed him, but it missed him. And he ended up kicking his windshield out and driving 40 miles to deliver this load on time with no windshield. And he texted me in the morning when he was at the delivery. He just texted me a picture. I still have the picture somewhere, but he was like, made the delivery on time. And he just said that and no windshield. I was like, what the hell happened? But he was, well, I ended up I lived in Arizona at the time, and he lived in Arizona. And so I ended up going over to his house and drinking a bunch of like Romanian moonshine with him and got him dinner and stuff. And we ended up having a good time. But gun to my head, I would pick him as my do or die driver. So I had I ended up making a lot of good friends that I'm still friends with to this day, a bunch of Eastern European guys. And I've been to the sauna with them in Chicago. I've gone to, I've eaten borscht with a bunch of Ukrainian dudes at the sauna. Like I've kind of dove into it. And I found for some reason, I think a lot of people do assume like sketchiness when you get a guy on the phone, but like, it's obviously not the case that all of them are sketchy. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, and all you have to do is think about that for 2 seconds and be like, yeah, that's actually probably true. But there is just like that bad reputation that does drag down the good people too. And you kind of have to overcome it. But I mean, I think a lot of people have overcome it, and there's a lot of very successful people, which is cool. Good for them. I mean, it's definitely easier said than done. What's your favorite kind of, like, if you today, like, do you still have trucks that you have to cover today?
Dispatch I do not dispatch trucks anymore, like for 6 months already, or 7 months.
You're the boss now. That's good.
Yeah.
Friday, what is your favorite situation to be in as a dispatcher? Is it like Friday afternoon, okay, I have a truck now and I can just like, make a bunch of money? Like, what's your favorite position to be in?
I think when everything, like, you have a week has 7 days, you have 5 working days on an open deck. Obviously you can book 5 loads, or you can book 4 loads or 3 loads. And when you're timely booking loads, when your driver's timely arriving at their shipper, there are no delays at every pickup, they're making it in time. And when you know that you have calculated everything so good that that chain perfectly matches, the following load perfectly matches your first load. I think that's the favorite part of the dispatching, when you accomplish.
So when everything goes smoothly.
When everything goes smoothly, not again. I would say. I was thinking about the money wise, but I don't think this is about the money. Like, you might have good weeks with a driver, you might have bad weeks, but yeah, when everything goes smoothly, and when you know that you were the part of it, that you have calculated the driver's hours, you have calculated the risks, you took the buffer that helped you, you have like 60 miles, you took a 30 minutes buffer, and bam, there's a traffic jam. You got your 30 minutes buffer, saved your driver, to be late. And you never tell the broker. I used to never tell the brokers, like real ETAs. I was always saying, again, as I was saying earlier, I was always under promising and over delivering.
You would just add a little cushion to it.
Yeah, and that was the favorite part, when everything went smoothly, and especially when you calculated something unforeseeable that happened, and you knew that this might happen, you prevented this, and that might be my favorite part of the dispatching.
And where, like, what was your, like, I think back to having to cover a load. Like, if it was like 5 p.m. on like a Friday and I had a driver miss a pickup or he didn't get empty or something, and I had to go cover the load, you find the truck that's nearby that's empty, and the guy wants like $1 million for the load, and sometimes you got to pay it. Like, did you ever find yourself in scenarios where you were like the guy with the truck and everyone was calling you and you were just like, this is awesome?
Yeah, that's how I recorded a lot of calls. What you see on Instagram. Yeah, last moment loads. I mean, this is the spot market. You got to take advantage of it. We were talking with one of our clients. They still have those drivers. Drivers talk to each other at the shippers, and one got paid a certain amount, another driver got paid different amount. It's not because your company might be cutting. I'm not saying that companies are not cutting. There are still companies, as we all saw, that cut rates. But it also can be what time did you get your load? Because if you got it first thing in the morning, there was no push for the broker to cover it. But if you got it at 3 p.m., then yeah, you can take a lot of leverage out of it and a lot of advantage of it. But with me posting videos on Instagram, I was starting to do it politely, because I saw that sometimes I was kind of rude to people, especially with the brokers. And that's a good thing for me. Because when you see yourself, you realize how stupid do you look.
Yeah, I've had those moments. I get that. What on the cutting rate topic? Like how does that work for people? Because I don't think a lot of people actually really like understand kind of the dispatch game. You know what I mean? Like why is that a thing? Like what does that look like? How does it work?
Well, first of all, let me say it this way first. Dispatchers, they are just tools. Like dispatchers cannot cut rates because no money goes through dispatchers. We are an outsourced company that works as a bona fide agent. There are no money that goes through us. We do not receive any money. We're just getting paid at the end of the month by the client.
Yeah.
So every money, all the revenue goes to the company that's based in the United States. So people who are cutting rates are the ones that are doing the invoices and stuff like that. I mean, companies from the United States, that these are the people that cuts rates. Of course, with the help of the dispatchers. Again, dispatchers are just helping tools. And then how does it work? I don't know. I think I've heard from one of the dispatchers that I used to work with that they get a certain percentage, like a way bigger percentage, like a 50%, 50% from the amount that they have cut. So let's say you booked a load for $4,000, you're selling it to your driver for $3,500. You get the 50% from those $500 difference, which is $250, which is very good money. I know that there are people that does that. You were saying, how does that work?
So I mean, so mechanically, it's just essentially a broker calls, offers $3,000. The dispatcher then calls the driver, offers it to them for $3,500. The driver's none the wiser. They say yes. The company gets paid $4,000, and the driver gets paid $3,500, and the dispatcher takes 50% of that difference.
Yes, I think the companies that used to do that a lot, the dispatchers can take decisions by themselves. But the companies that are new to this, I still think that dispatchers are not taking the decisions of what amount of money should he propose this load for to their driver. So he's speaking to a supervisor, or he's speaking to a person who's taking decisions, and then, hey, yeah, this is a good load, but you offer this to your driver for this certain amount of money. I mean, to your owner op, because they cut rates from owner ops, I think.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't really, looking back, I don't know. I don't know if I really worked with too many dispatch offices. Again, I might not have known, if I just booked one load if they were overseas, but I feel like a lot of the guys lived in the United States. But how is it like from a time zone standpoint? Like what hours do you work? Like how does that work for you? Because you're like 6, 7, 8 hours ahead of Eastern time, something like that?
7, 8, yeah. I think we're plus or minus +7. So it's 6 o'clock here in Moldova right now, which is 11 or 10 a.m. in Central Time in America.
Yeah.
So it's 8 hours difference. You basically start working at 2:30.
Yeah.
2:30 p.m. like office hours, 2:30 p.m. until midnight, which is 4 p.m. in Chicago in Central Time and 5 p.m. in Eastern Standard Time. And this is not a barrier for us because I don't know people that ages between 20 and 40 that goes to sleep earlier than like 11 p.m. You're still gonna go to sleep.
I mean, it's actually not bad hours, I guess. Working from
not at
11
all. Yeah.
Yeah, that's working from 2 to. I mean, that's not so bad.
To the midnight. Yeah, you can do a lot of stuff in your morning time, like a lot of stuff, a lot of personal stuff in the morning time.
Yeah, you can go to the sauna. Do you ever go to the sauna?
I used to do. Yeah, I mean, I'm still going, but in the winter time, not in the summertime.
My favorite experience with Paul is going to the sauna in Chicago and hanging out with a bunch of truckers in the sauna. I do that any chance I get. So people who want to follow you on Instagram, what's your Instagram handle?
What's the Instagram? What?
Handle. What's your username on Instagram?
It's Kovin with K as a kilo, KOVIN .group.
Kovin.group. Go follow Serge and laugh at his videos. They're good. Cool, brother. Well, thanks for coming on. Have a good rest of your day, and go make sure all your trucks are covered.
Thank you, man. See ya.
See ya, bro.
It was a pleasure talking to you.
Likewise, dude. Take it easy. All right, everybody. We are done. My computer almost died. I'm at 2%, so I made it. Thanks for tuning in, and I think Paul is back next week. So everyone have a good rest of your week.
Are you drowning in invoice chaos? Stop digging through inbox threads and email attachments to piece together your AP process. Epay Manager centralizes invoicing, document audit, and payments in one controlled system. Enjoy more clarity and less chaos with Epay Manager. Learn more by going to epaymanager.com.